The world watches with bated breath as two nations lock horns in a high-stakes diplomatic standoff, their dispute echoing across continents and sending ripples through the international community. India and Canada, once partners in progress and mutual development, are now entangled in a complex diplomatic crisis that threatens to unravel years of cooperation. At the heart of this rift lies a ghost from the past, the specter of Khalistan, a movement that has long been a thorn in the side of Indian politics. This movement, advocating for an independent Sikh homeland carved from India's Punjab region, has reignited old tensions and brought new challenges to the forefront, leaving a trail of shattered trust, broken promises and strained relations in its wake. The diplomatic landscape is fraught with uncertainty and mistrust. As accusations fly back and forth and rhetoric hardens on both sides, the world holds its breath, watching closely to see if cooler heads will prevail. Can diplomacy find a way to bridge the widening chasm, or are these two nations on an inevitable collision course? The stakes are high and the outcome remains uncertain. History has shown that even the most intractable conflicts can find resolution through dialogue and negotiation. Will this be another chapter in the annals of successful diplomacy, or a cautionary tale of missed opportunities? The world watches, hoping for a peaceful resolution, as the two nations navigate this diplomatic tightrope, balancing national interests with the greater good of international harmony. In the end, it is the people of both nations who stand to gain or lose the most. Their hopes and dreams hang in the balance as leaders work to find common ground and a path forward. Only time will tell if diplomacy can prevail, but the world remains hopeful for a brighter, more harmonious future. To understand the current standoff, one must journey back in time. The seeds of the Khalistan movement were sown in the fertile ground of post-colonial India. The partition of 1947, while marking India's independence, also ripped through the Sikh heartland of Punjab. This traumatic event, coupled with perceived political and economic marginalization in the newly formed India, fueled a sense of grievance among some Sikhs. The idea of Khalistan, a sovereign Sikh nation, began to take root, promising self-determination and a refuge from perceived injustices. Fast forward to the present day, and the embers of this long-simmering conflict have been fanned into flames. The assassination of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a prominent Khalistan activist in Canada, sent shockwaves across the globe. India, long accusing Canada of harboring Khalistani extremists, pointed fingers at alleged involvement of Indian agents. Canada, outraged by the accusations, expelled an Indian diplomat, triggering a tit-for-tat response from India. The diplomatic fallout was swift and severe, plunging relations between the two nations to an all-time low. At the heart of this diplomatic firestorm lies Canada's multicultural ethos. For decades, Canada has prided itself on embracing diversity, offering refuge to people from around the world. This inclusivity has, however, presented its own set of challenges. Canada now grapples with the presence of pro-Khalistani elements within its Sikh community, some of whom openly advocate for a separate Sikh state. This delicate balancing act, protecting free speech while addressing concerns about extremism, has become a defining test for Canada's multicultural model. Section 5. India's retort, a diplomatic and economic counteroffensive. India, reeling from what it perceives as Canadian inaction against Khalistani elements, has unleashed a diplomatic and economic offensive. This move is seen as a strategic response to what India views as a lack of adequate measures by Canada to curb the activities of Khalistani separatists. The Indian government has decided to take a firm stand, signaling its discontent through a series of calculated actions. Travel advisories warning citizens about traveling to Canada have been issued. These advisories highlight potential risks and urge caution, reflecting the heightened tensions between the two nations. The advisories are not just a precautionary measure but also a diplomatic signal to Canada about the seriousness of India's concerns. Visa restrictions have been tightened, creating hurdles for students and professionals seeking opportunities in Canada. This move affects thousands of individuals who aspire to study or work in Canada, thereby putting pressure on the Canadian government to address the underlying issues. The tightening of visa regulations is a clear indication of India's intent to leverage its economic and human capital to push for a resolution. Trade talks have been put on hold, casting a shadow over billions of dollars in bilateral trade. The suspension of trade negotiations serves as a significant economic lever, emphasizing the potential financial repercussions of the ongoing diplomatic standoff. This halt in trade discussions underscores the gravity of the situation and India's willingness to use economic tools to achieve its diplomatic objectives. India's message is clear. Canada must address its concerns about Khalistani activities on its soil or face the consequences. The Indian government has made it evident that it expects concrete actions from Canada to curb the activities of these separatist elements. The diplomatic and economic measures taken by India are a testament to its resolve to protect its national interests and ensure that its concerns are taken seriously on the international stage. Section 6. Economic Tremors, Trade, and Investments in Limbo. The diplomatic standoff has sent ripples through the economic landscape of both nations. The once thriving trade routes between Canada and India are now fraught with uncertainty, causing businesses on both sides to reconsider their strategies. Canada, heavily reliant on trade with India, is already feeling the pinch. The ports that once bustled with activity are now seeing fewer shipments, and the impact is being felt across various sectors from agriculture to technology. Indian students and professionals, major contributors to the Canadian economy, face uncertainty and disruption. Universities are reporting a decline in new enrollments from India, and companies are grappling with potential talent shortages. Indian investment in Canada, once a source of growth, has slowed to a trickle. The vibrant business communities that thrived on these investments are now seeing empty office spaces and closed shops, signaling a worrying trend. The longer the standoff continues, the greater the economic pain for both sides. The deserted trading floors and closed storefronts are stark reminders of the high stakes involved. The question is, how much economic damage are both sides willing to endure to protect their interests? As negotiations stall, businesses and individuals alike are left in a state of limbo, waiting for a resolution that seems increasingly elusive. The economic future of both nations hangs in the balance, with each passing day adding to the uncertainty. Section 7. A House divided public opinion and political fault lines in Canada. Within Canada, the Khalistan issue has exposed deep societal and political fault lines. While the Canadian government maintains its commitment to freedom of expression, concerns about extremism and foreign interference have intensified. The Sikh community in Canada, itself diverse in its views, finds itself caught in the crossfire. The government faces the daunting task of addressing India's security concerns while upholding its own values and protecting the rights of its citizens. Section 8. Global Stage, Global Stakes, the Wider Implications. The India-Canada standoff has implications that extend far beyond their borders. The dispute has cast a shadow over international efforts to combat terrorism and extremism. It has also raised questions about the limits of diplomacy and the challenges of navigating complex geopolitical fault lines. The outcome of this standoff will be watched closely by nations grappling with similar challenges, serving as a litmus test for the future of international relations in an increasingly interconnected world. Section 9. The High Cost of Discord, Who Blinks First? As tensions simmer, both India and Canada find themselves at a crossroads. The economic and diplomatic costs of this standoff are mounting, testing the resolve of both nations. India, determined to send a strong message about what it perceives as Canadian leniency towards Khalistani elements, shows no signs of backing down. Canada, caught between its commitment to free speech and its desire to maintain strong ties with India, is walking a diplomatic tightrope. The question remains, who will blink first? Section 10. Charting a path forward towards a resolution. The path to resolving the India-Canada standoff is fraught with obstacles. Dialogue, the cornerstone of diplomacy, has been replaced with recriminations and mistrust. For any hope of reconciliation, both sides must prioritize de-escalation and engage in honest, open communication. International mediation, perhaps through a neutral third party, could offer a way out of the current impasse. The international community has a vested interest in seeing this dispute resolved peacefully, as the stakes are simply too high to ignore. Section 11. The Unfinished Chapter, Looking Ahead. The India-Canada standoff over the Khalistan issue is a stark reminder of the enduring power of history and identity in shaping global affairs. It underscores the fragility of international relations and the need for constant vigilance in safeguarding peace. As both nations grapple with the fallout from this diplomatic crisis, the world watches anxiously. Will this be a turning point towards greater understanding and cooperation, or will it mark the beginning of a new era of mistrust and discord? Only time will tell.